Doing the Impossible.
Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
So at the time of recording this, about a week ago, SpaceX caught a 20-story tall rocket out of the air using chopsticks, pretty much. Something that people laughed at, thought was crazy, and then didn't think it was possible. But that seems to be the par for the course for things that SpaceX does. And you may be asking, why are we talking about SpaceX and rockets on an underwater-based podcast? But because, as we've said before, oftentimes we look at the space industry and what they're doing and are able to incorporate a little bit what they've done in underwater tech and design and stuff on those. And likewise, they do the same with underwater, whether it's underwater habitats and using them for analog missions, etc. But in this case, it got me thinking about a conversation also I had this past week. I was talking about, where we're at with ASC with somebody, and they referred to it as my hobby. And I quickly corrected them that ASC is not a hobby, but it is the possibility of $1 billion industry that we're on the cusp of. And that's not just including ASC, but there's a lot of other players out there. And so it's one of those things where people sometimes lack the insight to see what can be. And that this is a future that's going to happen. Brendan, have been on this course for quite a while, and I believe that ASC has the potential to be that big of a company. It's getting that first little step, and it's, if you look back at SpaceX, they've come a long way, and that was built up decades before through little things Elon had done that gave him the money to slowly grow it to a point where he could invest the large amounts of capital to start SpaceX. Likewise, without investors, ASC is the same way. I am slowly building up funds and working on different avenues to generate wealth to self-fund, or at least get backers to fund this underwater habitat program that I'm working on. So all this to say that just because people laugh at you or think that it can't be done, if it is grounded in sound engineering and logic, there's no reason it can't be achieved. And even some of those things that we will never be able to wrap our heads around until somebody does it. So I guess this is a two-folded podcast or short here, partially just going into the, again, stopping and combating naysayers by saying, hey, just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean this isn't going to happen. It doesn't mean ASC isn't going to lead the charge on this. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to change the world, especially the ocean-based world, through the technologies, through the engineering that we are going to be bringing down the pipe. But also it's to speak to anybody listening out there that may have a dream or may have a vision, not to be discouraged. Just because it hasn't happened yet, just because people doubt you, it could take decades of you slowly working and building upon it to make it happen. And that is sort of where ASC has been. And yes, can be a discouraging path, but I think that it's great that we have examples like Elon Musk out there, who has shown that hard work and ingenuity can make the impossible possible. So my question this week is, what is something that you have the vision or the dream of making happen and you haven't made it happen yet, and why not?